Do you know any kids who are downright gifted at pulling adults into power struggles that the adults could never win in a zillion years? Oh, yeah. And it's as if these kids know the basic rule. If you can get this adult arguing or distracted into giving lectures over things that the adult has no control over, then the adult won't have energy left over to enforce the things that they really do have control over. It's called diversionary warfare. And a guy came up to me after one of my presentations, and he said, I'm a bus driver, and I think I figured out love and logic. I said, really? He says, yeah, kids need limits. I said, you're right, kids need limits. And he said, you know, I figured out that you don't give them those limits with words, you give them those limits with works. I said, you know, that's a brilliant way of thinking about it, in that you don't really set limits with words as much as your actions and how you enforce what you say you're going to do. I said, yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. He says, yeah, during one of your summer conferences, I was really feeling bad about myself because I realized that the kids had been tricking me into getting pulled into things I had no control over. And there were things like what came out of their mouths, and the volume of the things that came out of their mouths, and whether they sat in the right place on the bus, or whether they stay seated when we were driving, or whether or not they shot spit wads into the back of my hair. All those things I suddenly realized that I really and truly had no control over. And is that true? What's the only thing that we really can control? Ourselves. And I even have days where that's an if. I mean, I'm not, okay? But he said, I figured that out. I can't control what they do, but I can control what I do. And he said, that's when I made it my goal to manage behavior on the bus with just one enforceable statement. And before we hear about what he did, let's camp out on that idea of one enforceable statement. See, these enforceable statements are incredibly powerful tools for staying out of the trap of getting distracted into trying to control things that we can't. But it only works well if we start really slow. Just experiment with one and get really good at that before you move on. Well, this is what he did. He said, oh, I took my time. See, because I made this determination during the summer that I would do this, so I had plenty of time to plan. And I sat down with some of the other bus drivers at the cafe, and we talked, and they'd shoot down my plan. They'd say, man, if you do that, you're going to get fired. You know, I was like, oh, you got a point there. And one of them says, hey, but maybe you should go and talk to so-and-so, our boss. And I thought, that's another good point. So I went to him, and I said, listen, I'm thinking about doing this with the students on the bus. Will this get me fired? And his response was, yep. But not if you write some letters to parents, and maybe call up some of them, the ones that have the most difficult students, and explain what you're doing so that they get your side of the story and all that. Again, that's called plugging the holes before you launch the boat. He said, so I just had plenty of time to think about it, and I couldn't stand it. I was just looking forward to school starting and looking forward to them kids acting up. Well, I get on my route first day of school, and they get on the bus, and I know to greet them. Your father taught me that. Eye contact, smile, high five, notice something about them as they're getting on the bus. And they were a little unruly on the way to school, but I said to myself, it's not time. Got to exercise a little self-control and wait until this afternoon. Well, they finally started coming on the bus that afternoon. I was so excited. I greeted them, smiled at them, eye contact, smile, and touch. Noticed a little something about each one of them as they got on the bus. And, well, they started getting unruly, which I thought was just great. And I just pulled off the side of the road, and I read my book. Didn't say a word, just read my book. Well, now there's kids in the back saying, bus driver, you can't do that. You can't read your book. You're going to get fired. Why you stopped the bus? And there was a little kid in the back. Yeah, he had a calculator watch and a pocket protector. And he's yelling at all the other kids, shut up, guys, shut up, quiet down. Can't you read the sign? And there was my glorious enforceable statement. I drive when it's quiet and it's safe. Enforceable? Yeah. Could you use that at home with your own kids? I knew a woman who used to do this with the kids. She had a lawn chair in the back of her car. Yeah, they'd start fighting. Get out, set up the lawn chair, read the book. They said, well, I unfortunately had to put the book aside because they were starting to behave. And I just got to a good part. But I said, no, kids are more important than this book. So I started driving along. And glory, glory, they started acting up again. I just eased off the pedal. Now, is he saying anything? Oh, no. He just eases off the road, picks up the book. Silence. Big kid in the back. Hey, bus driver, you're going to get fired. It's against the law. Have you ever known how sociopathic kids know the law better than anybody else? He said, oh, I had to use some words. I said, oh, thank you. No, what? Thank you so much for being worried about me and my job. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you putting it there. Thank you for reminding me. But I think this is going to help out. I just looked at that kid. I said, thank you. I said, but the good news is that I sent letters home and talked to some of your parents during the summer and just let them know that if we were running late some days, meant we were practicing safety skills, so don't you worry about my job. Well, unfortunately, started behaving again. I had to put my book down, and I drove, and I found that I could actually modify their behavior with the gas pedal. Oh, and they weren't happy with me. They wouldn't even look at me as they were getting off the bus. And next morning, they were all happy. They've been thinking. Yeah, you could just see it in their eyes. Oh, their eyes were all twinkly, you know, and they got on the bus, and you could just read their minds. Here, you can't do this to us on the way to school. Oh, and they were awful. He said they were awful, but I thought about this. Yeah, my friends at the cafe, they said, yeah, you can't do that on the way to school. What are you going to do? And I said, I'm just going to be tired on the way to school. And that's what I did. Yeah, they're acting up and just couldn't do much, but I just from time to time go, oh, you guys wearing me out with that behavior. Oh, this is tiring hearing all this. Oh, this is awful. Pretty little girl, third seat back. Oh, she was dressed like an angel, looked like an angel. You know what she said? I heard her, real quiet. She said, you getting tired, bus driver? Good. Couldn't believe she said that. But I just kept driving, and I kept tired. They got off the bus, and they just looked like they won the Super Bowl. Like, yeah, we showed you. And well, afternoon comes along, and did he greet him? Oh, yeah. See, Love and Logic isn't about rubbing salt in the wounds or getting even with kids. He says, oh, good to see you. And they were just kind of shocked, like, isn't he mad at us? Oh, well, they got on the bus, and we started heading home, and I drove them home. So slow that birds were passing the bus. I even took a special route so I could stay off the highway and drive real slow. And that little girl in the back, bus driver, why are you driving so slow? We're never going to get home. Tired from this morning. Why are you so tired? Oh, wears me out seeing kids misbehave. So dangerous, especially when you can't do anything about it. But I'll be okay. And it took us forever to get home. Now they help me out. Yeah, mornings are great. Yeah, I don't have to do any discipline. They do it with each other. Yeah, we get rolling along, and they start getting kind of loud, and all I have to do is put my hand up about here and go, oh, and pretty soon, usually it's that same little girl. She's yelling at all the other kids, shut up, everybody, sit down, stop it, he's going to be tired tonight. And is that an example just about the bus? Or is that an example for us as parents? An example for us as classroom teachers? And what's the moral to this story? The whole idea of just picking one enforceable statement, one that you really feel you can be successful with, not trying to do a whole lot, but plugging those holes before you launch the boat so you can make it look easy.